This video is going to be a film study on new Lions wide receiver acquisition Greg Dortch, who of course has some known strengths and weaknesses. I'm not necessarily going to focus on the things he can't do. I'm going to show you some ways that Drew Petzing has used him in the past, specifically 2025 film. I think I've got 10 or 12 plays queued up for you here. This is week 4 against the Seahawks, a game where he had 4 catches, mostly short targets like this one that you'll see here. It's a 3rd and 10 in the second quarter. Seattle really had control of this game early. They led 20-3 at one point, and then Arizona kind of stormed back. A lot of Dortch's targets are of this variety. Essentially, you've got a trips screen on a 3rd and long, and he's able to fight through for some yards and get a first down. He really gives me Tavon Austin vibes, to be honest with you. And for those of you who think that might be derogatory, it is not. I saw Tavon Austin play live in person multiple times in high school in Maryland. He certainly underachieved in the NFL, but this is a guy who's got comparable or similar agility, ability to make people miss, and then the vision to follow the blocking scheme. He's a high percentage catch guy. And some of that, of course, is the nature of the targets, right? The screens, the designed or the manufactured plays like this one that get him the ball in space, easy catches, if you will. But I'll give you some stuff a little bit later as an illustration about his catch percentage or the reliability. I think 2022, maybe 2023, but I believe it was 22, 52 catches on 63 targets, maybe 64 targets, somewhere in the 81, 82% range. Same play from the end zone angle. Again, it's against Seattle. It's a 3rd down look. Seattle and Mike McDonald, they love to show these, mug looks, threaten 5, 6, maybe even 7 potential rushers, force the quarterback to get the ball out early. So these screens are, a known way to attack it, number one. But Seattle and multiple defenses around the league, they practice the reactions to it, right? In this case, they kind of catch Seattle off guard. The tight end is going to release out to go get the front side safety, who's off screen to our right. The right tackle and right guard are going to release up to the second level. When we're talking about Dortch, he's really good in tight space, in my opinion, because he's very agile and he knows how to set up the play. The blocking scheme here is designed to go underneath of these blocks here. Watch him initially step to his right, to the outside, to get defenders to hedge that side, and then bring it back underneath. So there's a level of this that is obviously planned, but I think there's some as well that we can attribute to his vision and his understanding of the play. And I think that's where the familiarity between him and Drew Petzing really comes into consideration. He's obviously got significant usage as a receiver, and I'm going to show 3 iterations of that here, 2 on kick returns and 1 on a punt return. This is week 6 against the Colts, and Arizona had this interesting scheme utilized multiple times where they leave a particular player unblocked on the kick return. I think he's got a different style than Raymond. Raymond is more like straight line, downhill, but speed, quickness, right? Gets to 4th gear immediately. Not that Dortch is not fast or quick, but he's more so agile, I think, makes people miss, and they can kind of scheme that out. And here's what I mean. Oftentimes, the count is displayed here for you guys. These 5 to the right of the midline or the middle of the field are numbered inside out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in orange, and then these 5, difficult to see because of the shadows or the differential in color, I understand. But they're oftentimes leaving this guy unblocked. I'm talking about the number 1 away from the kickoff side. So Dortch is going to catch the ball down here inside the 5. And part of the scheme or the idea is that they're leaving him unblocked. Arizona does have a player who kind of recognizes this a little bit late. I will be honest with you. I think some of you guys have probably heard me say this. Never been super interested in the kickoff return schemes and the differential between them. Having said that, this is now the 3rd player film study where I had to look at some of these things, what teams do. And this one's kind of unique in that they're leaving a player unblocked, and the design of it, in my opinion, is for Dortch to just juke this guy. You'll see 2 iterations of it. Again, he's the number 1 out of 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right. It's away from the kick. My suspicion is if the ball was kicked over here, there'd be a different blocking scheme. The Arizona players up front are responsible for making a call, whether it's Ringo, Larry, Linda, whatever, just a right-left designation. He's got great vision and cutability, and I think the scheme is relying on that. They're relying on him to make a certain player miss. Now, Arizona knows who that player will be. I'm talking about the player number and the name of the guy on the other team. Basically, the idea is we don't think he can tackle Greg Dortch, and so we're going to leave him unblocked. And normally when you do that, you end up double-teaming other guys. That's not necessarily how this works out. It certainly isn't a touchdown, and I don't think Dortch is a home run hitter on returns or even with the ball in his hand on offense. I just think he's a weapon. I suspect his usage will be similar in Detroit as far as, 20 to 30 catches, maybe as much as 35, pending the situation, but more so usage on kick returns and punt returns, where he's a guy who I think just gets you consistent, reliable yardage on returns like this one. This one's going to be a touchdown in that same game, Week 6, against the Colts. He's lined up as number 3 in trips. Now, this is a 1st and 10. It's in the third quarter. And what they're really doing is kind of forcing the defense to show their hand. So this is an inside linebacker he's going to be matched up with. And what I mean when I say force their hand is on this route here, the linebacker's going to cover him across. It ends up being Lions-esque, and it's a clear-out concept by this tight end down into the boundary, if you ask me, and then the running back release. All that's designed to do, in my opinion, is kind of clear out this space for Dortch to run onto. Essentially, any other defenders that are in that area down into the boundary, the bottom right-hand portion of our screen, they'll be occupied by playing man. Oftentimes, NFL teams play man into the boundary, zone to the field. This kind of really looks like match zone to the field, in my opinion, but Dortch, ends up singled up on a linebacker or matched up with a linebacker, and just a bad matchup if you ask me. My suspicion is in the Petsing offense, if you get a St. Brown or a Dortch lined up at 3 in trips, especially on a 1st and 10, then you probably have 2 different plays called. If a safety was to drop down and kind of match Dortch and the other safety roll back to center field, then that indicates, at least pre-snap, indicates man. And so Jared Goff in 2026 may check to a different concept. That's the advantage, or one of the advantages, of having a Jared Goff, right, is that he's great at recognizing things pre-snap. Dortch can be a part of that formula. He's not going to be a heavy target guy. His career catch percentage is very, very impressive, if you ask me. The design of this is very Lions-esque, if you ask me. This running back out into the flats, this tight end clearing it out, and then you get, at times, for Detroit in the past, this has been a little bit of a choice concept. If it's zone, kind of sit down just outside of or on the other hash, but in this case, he's being chased by the inside linebacker, keeps running, runs onto the space, and I think it's Brissett, hits him. Dortch powers his way into the end zone and puts Arizona up 24-17. A very unique usage of Dortch skills, if you ask me. This is a Week 9 play against the Cowboys. Arizona's up 10-7 here, and he's lined up into the boundary. All right, I don't see a running back on the field. This may actually be a running back positionally, but I could be wrong. Neither one of these guys is. I think that's Harrison and Wilson, obviously known receivers for Arizona. The interesting part for me here, or another layer, is Petsing called this play and now has Dortch in his pocket or on the roster to utilize. And what I mean is Dortch motions from into the boundary back into the backfield. But for me, it's interesting, or more so important, where he motions, where he lands after the motion, which is to the field. Lined up to the boundary as an outside receiver, lined up as a running back to the field on the same side as trips. Again, there might be a running back on here. If so, I suspect it would be that player right there, but I don't think it is. I think this is basically 0-1 personnel, meaning no running backs on the field and one tight end. And the concept is down sweep. Now, this is something that Detroit has run before, primarily with Jahmyr Gibbs. It's a boundary side play. The idea is pull the front side guard and center combo, and then down block with the right tackle or the boundary side tackle and the tight end. Maybe those lines drawn, aren't illustrative of it, so I'll let this run back multiple times. You got pin down blocks on the outside with the tight end and the right tackle, pinning their defenders to the inside. And then the right guard and the center, you can see guard leading out in space, center wrapping. Sometimes he'll wrap back to the inside. Sometimes he'll go get a frontside safety. And the running back's job, or Dortch's job, to defeat or beat any unblocked defenders from the inside, like this defensive tackle here. Basically, to have the speed to not be tackled by those guys and follow the offensive lineman. What I like about this one is Dortch got, he's got great vision. He's got agility. Pretty good speed, straight line. This isn't anything, this play in particular isn't anything to utilize or represent or illustrate his agility. This is just commitment. Okay, I'm following my lineman really like a running back, and let me go ahead and get downhill when I can, get the yards that are available to me. In this case, it's 9 yards. Like I said, this is a second quarter play on a 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, actually. My apologies. I see the marker now. Very similar player, if you ask me, to Tavon Austin. The only difference is Tavon Austin was maybe here too soon in the NFL. Very skilled, catching the football, running the football from the backfield. I don't know that Dortch is going to be, getting 10, 12 touches as a running back in the backfield, but it really just, I think it's another signing by Brad Holmes that strengthens the floor. It doesn't maybe raise the floor of the team or the offense, but it strengthens the floor, meaning there's more available talent to use for Drew Petzing or Mike Kafka, both of which who are creative in their own way. And the experience, the familiarity with Dortch, in my opinion, really makes this a B-plus signing, even though Dortch may not generate, anywhere near even 600-700 yards combined between special teams on offense in 2026. Another kick return from that same game, Week 9 against the Cowboys, like I said, and in this case, Arizona, I think, is up 24-10 in the third quarter. May have my score wrong there, but what I'm not wrong about is the same commonality or pattern exists, whereby Arizona is going to leave the number one unblocked away from where Dortch kicks the football. Now, they didn't actually kick the football from the exact middle of the field. You can see that the marker or the T is right there. So, a little bit offset, but still the count remains 5 to the right. In this case, illustrated in orange, 5 to the left, numbering from inside out. Arizona leaves number one unblocked once again. A little bit different here in that you do get obvious double teams. So you've got a double team here and a double team there. That's actually James Houston, the fourth, number 53. Let me pull that back a couple of times so you guys can see what I'm talking about. A middle return, you don't normally leave people on. You do need to leave someone unblocked, but there's normally a guy who, in some cases, like if you're doubling a player, you'll get a peeling back and someone trying to kick that guy out. I'm not trying to draw up a scheme for a kick return that I've seen in the NFL. I'm just conceptually saying that normally when you get a double, you also get a kick out of an unblocked defender. That's not happening here. Again, I think they're taking advantage of the unique skills and cutability, if you will, of Greg Dortch. They're basically relying on him to juke that number one defender from the other side while they double the number two from that side and the number one from the bottom side, which again, I think is James Houston, the fourth. That number one gets upfield, and Dortch makes a miss, ends up being able to get downhill. I think it's like 34, 35-yard return, something like that. He's a consistent returner, not someone who I think is going to hit 3 or 4 home runs this year, but I think he'll hit 10 or 12 doubles or triples, if you will. Another return play. This one's, I think, a little bit more impromptu, but again, I think you see the skills that Dortch has as far as making people miss. Now, San Francisco won this game big, Week 11. I think it's like 44-16, something like that. It was a really nice return to the field here. Initially, I thought this was the design the first time I looked at it from the all-22 angle. That's why I'm focusing on the end zone. So look up front. I think it's a 3rd and 11. Arizona only has, 6 players in the box, all right? Or 7 players in the box, excuse me. They're double teaming the gunner who is off screen to our right. There's one gunner off screen to our right, one gunner off screen to our left. And they're going to double team the guy to our right-hand side or their left from Arizona's perspective. But you can see he's free. He's unblocked, and neither of those two guys is able to get to him. And he can front up Greg Dortch. He actually did run out of bounds. When I say he, I'm talking about that gunner. He ran out of bounds in order to make that happen. And you can see that Dortch is going to make him miss and then end up winding this all the way back to the field out here. There'll be a couple of blocks that look like it's a wall. It's not. This is just Greg Dortch recognizing, okay, I've got to survive the first engagement, in this case, the unblocked or the gunner who won, and then I've got to survive the second engagement however I can. He ends up trying to find space, or trying to access space, I should say, out to the field. That's Dortch right there. This is what, from the all-22 angle, made me think this was a wall punt return. This guy just actually lost the player that he was designed to block. As far as Dortch goes, agile, great vision. This one's unplanned, in my opinion, and he gets 40 yards out of it. If you get one of these types of returns in a big game that where the blocking scheme breaks down, in this case, double teaming a gunner, and you still get 40 yards out of it, then this ends up being a great signing. And I think Dortch is the type of guy that can do this 3 or 4 or 5 times during the course of the season. Another pattern that exists for Dortch is generating yards after the catch. In this game against San Francisco, like I said, the 49ers, they won this one going away like 44-16, 41-16. Dortch did have 6 catches for 61 yards, 1 touchdown. I love this play for a lot of reasons. Number one, the starters are still in for San Francisco. But this is a play that Drew Petzing called. This element to this play. It's not accessed by the quarterback, but it's basically the running back crossing the quarterback's face, set up on the right, crossing his face, and specifically into the boundary, being lined up to the field. Again, it's not accessed, but it's a part of the Petzing offense that shows up often. In this case, you can see the running back ends up, uncovered. Sometimes guys end up uncovered because defenders see the ball already out, okay? So that's not necessarily the focus of this play. We're talking about Dortch, and this guy spot shadowed in orange is Chase Upton, or Upton Stout, excuse me. And he's a rookie, or he was a rookie in 2025. Really good football player. He actually gets his hands on Dortch, right? And I guess the idea is, Dortch can, he can make people miss. He can juke people, but if you touch him, he's going to go down. He actually is able to avoid Upton Stout, number one. Number two, evade his grasp. There is a lot of pursuit here, and Dortch is just exceptional, if you ask me, at getting past or making the first defender miss and then generating more yards after the catch than a lot of other guys are capable of doing so. One more catch or one more play from that San Francisco game. Like I said, it's late in the fourth quarter. I may have this score wrong here, 41-16. It may have been 44-16, so my apologies for that. But you're going to get an idea of the yards after the catch. These are all comebacks or curls. Not a huge fan of the concept, to be honest with you. Again, keeping in mind that, Drew Petzing called this play. Dortch's route is a little bit shorter, number one. Watch the toughness and the ability to make people miss after the snap. Now, it must be said, I believe that these are backups in the game at this point. Again, it's inside of 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter of a game that San Francisco was winning comfortably, but still remains. Dortch makes people miss consistently, on film, even when there's angles from everywhere. So I'm talking about an inside linebacker, inside out here, a safety who can run the alley, and then an outside corner who can be the force player from outside in. And, by the way, a nickel DB, I think a backup nickel DB, who's got his hands on Greg Dortch right now. The yards after catch statistic that I have seen, I think it was Al Karsten who shared it on Twitter, is obviously impressive. For me, I like to focus on the film. Nonetheless, when I fired the film up late Wednesday evening into early Thursday morning, I noticed, I was like, okay, this fits exactly with what I saw Al share out on social media. Finally, the last play that I'll show is actually a go-ahead touchdown for Arizona in the fourth quarter of their game against Jacksonville, at home in Week 12. It's a 17-17 tie. He had 6 catches in this game for like 53 yards. This one goes for a 39-yard touchdown, 6 catches on 9 targets. Like I said, it's 17-17 on a 3rd and 8. They're playing 2-man, so that means 2 safeties high, everybody else man-to-man on their receiver. And then in this case, both of those safeties are focused on other receivers after the snap. I wouldn't say this is random. He wins pretty consistently off the snap, number one. Number two, what I like about this one, and when you see him get the ball in his hands, whether it's special teams or as a receiver, is that he immediately knows where to go. Well, I should say he knows where not to go. And in this case, he's cutting off of this safety. That's the safety from the opposite side of the field of where he lined up. We're talking about that safety there, and then Dortch, as far as where they were pre-snap on which side of the field. So he knows where not to go, which helps him make the decision where to go or where to cut. I think it's a good signing. I don't think that you're getting a guy who's going to generate 600, 700 yards over the course of the season, with offense and special teams combined in. Having said that, I think he's a player that if a receiver is injured in a given week, he can step in and produce for you, number one. Number two, he's got big playability with the ball in his hands on returns, kickoff returns or punt returns, which I tried to illustrate to you, number one. Number two, high percentage catcher of the football. I do not believe that he's a guy who wins jump balls like slot fades and stuff like that. Shorter, underneath concepts that utilize his quickness and give him the ability to continue running onto space and try to generate yards after the catch. I think this is an underrated offseason so far for Brad Holmes in the front office. No home runs, no triples, maybe not even any doubles. Cade Mays, the return of Rock Ya-Sin. I like those signings. The 2 nickel DBs, McCreary, and I think it's Isaiah from Tampa Bay. This signing of Greg Dortch, generally veteran guys, know what to do on the football field, know what to do in practice, how to game plan. Those players, I would suspect, are all very appreciative or thankful, grateful, I guess, is the better word, to be in Detroit, a place where there's a lot of winners who expect to win football games and get deep into the playoffs. I like the signing. You're more than welcome to let me know if you would like more splash, high-profile type acquisitions. I get it. I think Brad Holmes and those guys are loading up for the draft. I look forward to you guys' feedback or evaluation of some of the plays, some of my thoughts on this signing, number one. Number two, as well as the plays that I illustrated or that I used to illustrate them. Appreciate you guys' time.